Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to After the Game with Todd Leary. Special guest Brian Evans on today after Indiana takes on Butler. Coming to you in a couple of different places. Todd's at Yogi's. I'm at the Tap on Mass Ave, and Brian's up in the North Pole getting ready to continue his next week of work, it looks like. But Brian, thanks a lot for joining us today, man. How you doing? Looks great there.
Yeah, thanks. I staged it. I'm in the North Pole. It's cold up here when you got to start a fire.
He's got it going, man. I mean, that is the best look that we've seen all year long. And how appropriate as we come into Christmas week, man.
When he first clicked on here, I looked at that and I was like, that is legit. You just legitimized the show.
You just forget about the game. Let's just talk about that, man. I mean, the setup. But no, the game.
This is my studio.
You've got the studio. You have got the setup. We may have to start coming over to Brian's and going live from Casa Evans. But a great day for Indiana. A game that guys that started out, man, that first half, defensively, they shot the ball extraordinarily well. The three-point shooting continued as a surprise, but the defense, both on the perimeter and the interior, kind of lacking in that first half.
Brian, they hear from me all the time, so let's have your take on it to get started.
I thought we were getting bullied a little bit. Like, they have guys, and I don't know the Butler team. I hadn't seen them play till today, but it's like they were just kind of taking us one-on-one, almost like the old school YMCA style, just like dribble, jump hook bucket. We were not looking good. Our perimeter defense, I would feel, was pretty good. It just felt like they were just kind of one-on-one taking us in and scored on us in that first half.
Yeah, I think you could definitely tell the game plan was to try to be physical against Indiana, which is kind of surprising, not because it's Butler, just because as a Big Ten team, I think, part of the MO of the Big Ten is to always be super physical. And I thought the exact same thing. They kept going straight to our chest, right in the lane, and trying to shoot easy buckets inside. And to give up 37 points in the first half, I will say to this Butler team, because it's a depleted Butler team, it's not a great offensive team, but to give up 37 points, obviously the defense was the part in the first half that needed some adjustment. But I mean, you definitely have to give a ton of consideration and shout out to the second half defense, because they came out and took care of everything in the first half that was putting them in bad positions and giving up easy buckets, and just made it really difficult for Butler to score on almost every possession. So they made great adjustments at halftime. Sure.
Well, the biggest thing we've talked about for the last couple of years with this team has been shooting. Who's going to step up? And Armand Franklin has kind of been peeking out to be that guy, and today he really kind of continued with that. Started out with the only guy that was really hitting, but man, he's continuing to kind of emerge as maybe the guy in the backcourt for this Indiana team.
Yeah, I mean, hey guys, we totally different, tale of two halves. I'm sure you say that all the time, but it really was a different team that came out and just turned up that intensity defensively, and you know how that goes. Once you do that, once you're able to do that and kind of establish the defense to be there, all of a sudden things start opening up at the other end, and guys start feeling better, and all of a sudden shots are falling. That seemed to be the story of this game.
Yeah, I thought so too. And then when you get Armand that's having this kind of consistency, a couple of games in a row, I think that's back-to-back career high games for him. That's the person that I think we've been waiting to see. We've been waiting for someone to step up and emerge as a scoring guard. And, I think we're kind of going to get a fairly consistent thing of Al Durham throughout the year. I think it's going to be 6 to 12 points-ish. And that's a great thing to be able to count on. I thought Finney's struggling right now to kind of find his identity on the team. I mean, I know he's a great defender. I know he's a great on-the-ball defender, but offensively, he's just not really a part of the team. I think right now his identity needs to be the guy who feeds Trace Jackson-Davis the most. But from a shooting standpoint, I complain game after game after game when we can't make shots. And it felt like we made 1 million threes today, and we made 7. I mean, that's what I think the average needs to be for these guys. And they've got to be able to make, 6, 7, 8, 9 3-pointers in order to be competitive in the Big Ten.
we talked about how many shots a lot. You're of the school of thought you want to be putting up 20, 23 a game, and most of those guys are. And today they didn't put that up, but they were really efficient. And that's what I was always afraid of this team putting up that many because of their efficiency was so bad. But it's gotten a lot better. If they're going to continue to shoot like this, you definitely want to see them putting up more threes.
Well, and what I want to see, I think the difference between they put up 16 threes today and shot just under 50%. But the thing I want to see is to get that number to 20 or 23, I think you've got to have Trey Galloway start to get more comfortable. I think Christian Lander start to get more comfortable. And those are the two guys that can make up the difference between shooting 16 threes and 20 to 23 threes. Because if those guys get more involved in the offense, it's going to make Indiana a much better team offensively. And until that happens, offensively, I thought they looked pretty darn good today and still only put up whatever it was, 68 points or 67, whatever it was. And so, I mean, I just – they're coming out of it. I got to feel good about that because I harp so much on the bad offense all the time. But today was a positive sign. I think Armand's back-to-back games, his confidence levels just got to be through the roof right now.
And Brian, the interior play, Trace Jackson-Davis, Race Thompson, they don't have Joey Brunk. And in their first half, like you said, they got bullied, pushed around, made some changes in the second half. But, man, they're going to have to be ready for that as Big Ten play starts with Northwestern. But as they go on, it's going to be nothing but that every night in this conference.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt the Big Ten is going to come at you. No one's ever going to be on their heels in the conference play. And Todd touched on it earlier. Teams are just way more physical. I almost wonder if Trace was so thin up front. I almost wonder if he was playing to not get in foul trouble in that first half. He wasn't blocking shots. Second half, he's tossing shots left and right. I don't know. But we do know that the Big Ten, regardless of more physical strong, I don't know what the timetable for Joey Brunk is, but they're going to need another good-sized body. I mean, even if it's just to sub in and give people a rest.
Yeah, Brian, I think you make a really good point with that because you saw Trace Jackson-Davis early in the game. It wasn't super early, but when he picked up his first foul, they immediately took him out. Like, I think they were trying pretty hard to eliminate a foul trouble situation on the inside with Trace. So he wasn't out for long, but I think they were definitely trying to make it a big deal about not getting him in foul trouble.
Yeah. Coming to you from a few places, like I said, from TAP here on Mass Ave in Indianapolis. Make sure you get out and visit if you're in the Indianapolis area. If you're in Bloomington, go to the Yogi's where Todd is right now. But thanks a lot to the Finney Hospitality Group, Nathan, Finney, and Rich Martin, all those guys. We really appreciate you always help us out. Looking forward to having Brian Evans and the family here at the TAP for dinner one night. But Brian, as this team goes forward now into Big Ten play, we talked so much about this with Todd. They've had such a muted start to the season. You don't have the games that you normally have. You've got four freshmen that you're going to really need to depend on. We've seen Trey Galloway, Christian Lander really be used a lot already, but they don't have those preseason games. It's going to be Big Ten play starts next Wednesday, and they got to be ready to go.
This is, like we all say about everything right now, it's going to be just a unique year. It's different. I haven't looked at any of the Big Ten teams and seen how many games they play. We have managed to play some games, and so we'll probably get on the road and play some of the Big Ten teams that haven't played as many games as us, which is an advantage, right? You have a shorter season here, a shorter preseason. We at least have had games, and we've got 6 games under our belt.
Yeah. I mean, I think the benefit for this game, I mean, I've seen the discussion all week long about the Crossroads Classic and whether to continue it or go get a big-time game. And I just laugh at that because the Big Ten schedule is getting ready to be so brutal and grueling. I don't know that we want another battle right now. I mean, I think this game today was kind of perfect. I honestly think exactly what you said, Brian, that Butler came out in this game and tried to be more physical than Indiana. And I really think at halftime, I would be really surprised if we didn't find out that at halftime, Archie Miller walked in and challenged Trace Jackson-Davis and Race Thompson and said, you guys just got bullied by a team that's not very physical and is depleted. And next week, that's only going to get magnified. And then you know the day after Christmas, they play Illinois, and imagine what that's going to be like from a bullying standpoint. So I think that this game just timed itself perfectly. Was lucky for Indiana. They've had the games. I mean, they played some good games. We wanted a tougher schedule. We complain about that every year. I just think that this schedule this year, I think, has worked out good for Indiana. I think the younger guys are developing, probably not as quick as we all as fans want them to, but they're developing, and they're going to be involved in the rotation. I think we'll see a bigger rotation than what we saw tonight, for sure, once we get into the Big Ten play.
Look at some of these numbers. We talked about the first half. I think that if I remember right, Butler shot like 70% from the field in the first half. But for the game, he ended up at 39%. So those halftime adjustments Indiana made come out and really were effective. They got out. Butler out-rebounded Indiana. I remember 26-18 in the first half. I mean, they were just bullying them like you said. But for the game, what was the total? 35-30. So they got that a lot closer. They battled. They started working harder in the interior. But they can't get behind against teams in the Big Ten like this. Butler's depleted. They didn't have their number one scorer today. So you can't start out like this. They've got to come out to start these games like they did to start the second half.
Yeah, Brian, I mean, I think you were a great example of as in your senior year, I can specifically remember the beginning of games and how well I'm giving you the majority of the credit as a senior, but you had the team ready to play. And I think that's going to be super important for this basketball team in particular. They don't have, Armand's a senior. I know Joey Brunk's a senior, but they don't really have that on-court senior leader that's going to have these guys understanding what Big Ten play is going to be like and how important it's going to be for them to not fall behind. Because, Jim, I think you make a good point. If this team's not a come-from-behind team, this is a team that's going to drudge its way through a game, hang around there, and then against really good teams, hopefully make the plays at the end to win. And they're not going to be able to fall behind at the beginning of games in the Big Ten. And I think, Brian, I just remember how well you did getting your guys ready to play. And who for this team is going to do that? Is Trace able to do that as a sophomore?
Well, thanks. That's a great question. I was going to ask you guys. I've missed a few of these games. I haven't watched them in their entirety. I didn't even get to watch this entire game, but I don't know. I don't know who that locker room guy is. You guys will know better than I do, but we're going to find out, soon enough. And it could be by committee. It really could be. If you've got Durham and a couple guys, even Joey Brunk, you hope that Trace Jackson Davis is developing that. You want to see him as our best player establish himself in the locker room. When I watch on the court, it looks like he does. Guys look to him. He gets guys huddled together. He appears to be a leadership type of guy.
Yeah, I one of the things coming out of this game, it's never on a stat sheet, it's never on anything. But Brian, you would understand what this means from a leadership perspective. But I saw at one point in the first half, Trace Jackson Davis looked at Trey Galloway missed an interior pass to get the ball inside. And the ball went around and ended up being a dead ball situation. And they happened to put the camera right on Trace Jackson Davis when he turned to Trey Galloway and said, "Give me the ball." And that's what you want to see.
That's a Brian Evans right there.
That's a leader. That's a guy who is saying, "I'm the best player on the floor. Good things are going to happen when I touch the ball. You're a freshman. This is a learning experience. With better language, give me the ball, please." That's pretty close to what he was saying to him. But that to me was a big time play from Trace Jackson Davis that doesn't really show up on any of the stat sheets, obviously.
When you get, when you're him, the defense is planning for him. The game prep from the other team is to stop him. So you're not going to get open all that often. It's hard to get open. So when you have a little, 1 second that you can get the ball, you've got to get it delivered to you. And that's the right thing to do. I'm glad you pointed that out.
For sure. I say this all the time, and it's hard, not on the show, but like to people to get them to understand. But Brian, you would understand this. Like, I got in trouble more at IU for passes I didn't make than for passes that I made that were bad passes. Because if we work in offense and get a guy open, you don't get 12 openings in a possession. You might get one. It's a small, tiny window, and if you don't have, as a guard, if you don't have the ball in the right spot to get it to him at the right time, it's almost like a turnover, and that's the way Coach Knight looked at it for sure.
Yep. No doubt.
Some of these guys today, Race Thompson didn't. I don't know. In the first half, no points. I know he was working kind of hard defensively, but not a lot of production from him overall today. Although defensively he was working hard, but I think they've got to get a lot more out of him offensively, along with the defensive side.
Well, and I think that was a point of emphasis also at halftime, because you saw him come out and touch the ball pretty early in the second half. They had a couple plays they ran for him, which doesn't happen all that often. He got an offensive rebound and a putback, so that was a big deal, and a couple of and one opportunities. So overall, I think you're right. I think he didn't get himself too involved in the first half, and I think at halftime they kind of recognized that and got him involved. He played a really good second half. He was a big part of that second. I think he finished with 7 rebounds, maybe 10 points and 7 rebounds. I mean, that's a good stat line for your second big guy in the starting lineup. So that was a good comeback second half, because you're right, he wasn't very involved in his first half.
Jerome Hunter is another one. It just doesn't seem like he can really get that start. I mean, he played better in the second half, but he just doesn't seem to get going in these games.
Yeah, Brian, I mean, you can speak to guys like this, and there's just guys that have to get involved. It's one game of confidence, one little thing that needs to happen in order for him to just change his whole outlook. He's an offensive guy. Jerome Hunter's an offensive guy, and I think there's a breakout opportunity at some point for him. I don't know. It obviously wasn't today. I don't know when it's going to be, but I think there's going to be an opportunity where Jerome Hunter is going to end up being a big factor for this team if they're going to be successful in the Big Ten. And I still like Jerome as a player. I think he's going to be a big part of this team. I think you're right though, Jim. I mean, he just hasn't found that right situation or opportunity yet in this early part of the season to get himself too acclimated into the offense.
Well, there's guys like that there's nothing wrong with that, really. I mean, we want more production from him, but there's been a lot of great players through the years that it's that first 3-4 minute stretch that they play is going to determine if they play 18 minutes or 20 minutes a game, or if they're just going to play 5 minutes. And he might be one of those guys this year. He should develop into more of a mainstay down the road, but that's not the worst thing. And back to Race Thompson, I mean, he's gonna have 16-point, 8-rebound games. And then he's going to have an energy game. He's an energy player. He's going to have 7 and 7, and he's just not going to get a lot of touches. But when we got out running in the second half, that's his kind of game, right? He's filling the lane. Right. He gets a couple easy buckets, and some days that's going to be 16 and 8, and sometimes it won't be.
Hey, can we guess your dogs' names? Is one of them Damon and one of them Bailey, or you got a Pat and a Graham, or who you got there? What's the dog's name?
Did you see they're wearing Christmas sweaters too?
I did see.
I mean, I've staged this whole thing.
That is freaking funny.
I've staged the whole thing. Okay, I got one whose name is Red.
His name's what?
His name is Red. And the other one's name is Eddie Money.
Red and Ed. Like it.
Red and Ed.
Eddie Money, not just Eddie. Eddie Money.
Eddie Money is his name. Yeah. Eddie Money passed away. We just got him, and we named him Eddie Money.
Eddie Money, I love it.
Love it.
Hey, you know what? As a human, you're pretty recognizable when you're known with one name. But as a dog, you're way more important if you've got 2 names.
That's right.
That's
a great point. That's a great point.
So the other dog, the dog named Red, his name is actually Ellis Redding from Shawshank Redemption. That's his full name. We just call him Red.
But he's good enough that he only needs 1 name.
I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
The freshmen are we're heading into Big Ten play now. The freshmen, not a lot of involvement today. Trey Galloway, they really are just trying to get him involved, and he's out there trying. Hustling. He just seems just off a little bit. He just got to get into that lane and get things lined up. And he's probably of the 4, obviously, the guy that's going to count on the most at the freshman.
He's getting a lot of playing time. He's getting the opportunities. I'm still waiting for, fortunately for me, I've seen Trey Galloway play since he was in the 1st grade. I know what kind of scorer he is. I know he's an offensive-minded player. To watch him play the way he's playing right now, and he's a great teammate, there's never anything bad you can say about a guy who's a great teammate. But at some point in time, something's going to click with him, and he's going to realize he can do a lot more for this team if he helps him score the basketball. On a game like today, Armand was shooting the ball well. Things were going great offensively. I won't say it wasn't needed, but it wasn't mandatory for him to come in and score the ball. There's going to be games in the Big Ten where there is, and he's the guy getting the most playing time right now. I still think Christian Lander is going to end up being a big part of when in the first half when Finney was out for quite a while. I really thought Lander had an opportunity to come in and make a big impact, and he didn't make any mistakes, which is something you can say that's great about the way he played. But I'd like for him to start pushing it a little bit. I'd like for these freshmen to start, getting out there a little bit and taking some chances and scoring some baskets.
I saw on Twitter someone made a reference of Trey Galloway. That's the funniest that I've seen yet. They said he looks like a baller and a Disney TV star.
Yeah.
Like, that just nailed it. That's the winner right there, man. That was the funniest thing I've seen on him today. Yeah, I agree with you, Christian. Every time he comes in, you can see the level of play just kind of seems to move up a little bit. It's just a little faster, a little quicker.
Yeah, every time he comes in, I keep thinking that this is going to be his breakout game. And I honestly think, I truly think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen this year. And I think once it happens, I think this team will be totally different than what they are right now. But he's going to keep getting the opportunities. He's going to keep Geronimo and Leal, I don't know. I think they're going to have a lot of games like this where they have DNPs and coach's decision why they're not in the game. But I think we're always going to see an opportunity for Christian Lander and obviously Trey Galloway to have a chance to step up in these games.
Yeah, Brian, that's another thing. We're in Big Ten play now, and with the truncated season, those freshmen that haven't gotten a lot of minutes, those opportunities are going to be less now that you're in Big Ten play because there's not a night off in this league. So they may not be able to develop more. Todd,
you would not want to be Ed. You're not going to be Ed or Red right now because I think Brian's getting ready.
Well, Eddie Money's about to be Red, probably.
Yeah. There's some problems going on there, but I'm sorry, I forgot what your question was.
I was talking about the freshmen. Now as we get into Big Ten play, the minutes we haven't seen Anthony Leal as much. We haven't seen Jordan Geronimo as much. Those minutes are probably going to be less. The opportunities would be smaller.
This was a short rotation today. They played 8 players, and Lander, it was less than 8 minutes, I would say, wouldn't you? He and Hunter probably played 10 or 12 minutes. It was a tight rotation today.
And so going forward, that's going to be more difficult when you have
That's not going to be possible. That's not going to be possible in the Big Ten. First of all, foul trouble. Indiana can't get in the situation where they have to play soft defensively because if Race or Trace has to come out of the game, your next guy you bring in is Jerome Hunter as a big guy. I love Jerome coming in, especially as an offensive spark, but not to come in and guard big guys, not to come in and guard the Green Mile from Illinois. So, they've got to figure out a way to Joey Brunk's got to be able to do those minutes. Brian said a minute ago he didn't have to come in and play 30 minutes, but
you don't know when Joey's going to be back. That's
12.
Another thing.
Yeah, he wasn't even in dress. He was in dress clothes today. So
I don't know.
What's his injury?
He's got a back injury.
But
I don't know how
it's been that way from the beginning. He has not played a minute, and from last time I heard Archie talking about it, I don't expect him back in the next game. So we don't know when he's going to come back. And if it's not. It can't go too deep into Big Ten. I cannot imagine this team too deep into Big Ten play without him, without having that other body in the middle. They're already thin there, and that's.
And again, we're not talking about somebody to come in and play 25 or 30 minutes even. They need somebody to be able to spell them for 8 to 12 minutes or foul trouble issues or things like that. So that is really where, that's really where this team could be exposed. And honestly, I think Brian hit it on the head earlier saying – that's what Butler came out and tried to do. They tried to go straight at their chest, backing them down. It was Steve Risley at the Jordan YMCA backing people down in 1987. It was straight up, I'm going straight to your chest and to the rim. So it was that was the game plan for Butler for sure.
Riz the Grizz. That's like a dump truck backing over the top.
I saw Steve Risley punch a dude square in the nose at the Jordan YMCA when I was in the junior high. It was intimidating, I can tell you.
Oh my God, I have to get him on here sometime. That's hilarious. But yeah, as they move forward, I saw Jerome Hunter trying to work down in the paint, and they just backed him down, and it was like Brian Evans on me. it was like kids play.
Yeah, it was.
And that's not
it
going
was
to work.
easier than that.
Oh, it was. I mean, it couldn't have been any easier. But man, he was trying, but he cannot really fill down in the paint.
And that's not what I mean. Just because he's tall doesn't mean he's going to be a great inside defender. I mean, it's like Brian's tall, but he's a great outside shooter. I mean, just because you're tall doesn't mean all of a sudden you're pigeonholed to a certain position. But Jerome's a scorer. Jerome's a guy that's going to put the ball in the basket. And I don't think just because he's tall and comes in off the bench, we should expect him to guard the interior guys. I mean, heck, I think Jordan Geronimo might have a better chance at being that interior defender than Jerome Hunter would have.
Well, now, Brian, we move into Big Ten play like we talked about. Next Wednesday, there's no more preseason games. They got to get to it. Luckily, it's Northwestern. Probably one of the easier, if there's an easier game in the Big Ten, Northwestern's one of those. But they've got Illinois right after that. So they've got to get things lined up against Northwestern. What do they need to come out and do? That game's at home.
I think the first game would be great if there was contributions from some of these young guys. Todd knows this. That's going to be a big building block. If we could get a couple of those guys established and say, hey, wait a minute, I can play in the Big Ten. This isn't that different. I think we're lucky that, these arenas are empty. That's got to be an advantage for a younger team, not being in a hostile environment. But I think if we could get 2 or 3 of these guys some good minutes and they could, make a few buckets and get to the flow of the game, there's no question that we're going to need contributions from that class. And didn't get a bunch of them today, but I'm with you, Todd. I think there's a breakout game around the corner for Lander, and certainly I think just playing time, more time on the court. I'd like to see one of those guys get a 25 or 30-minute game against Northwestern. They just get comfortable out there.
Yeah, because that's not going to happen against Illinois. I mean, unless there's some craziness go on, their first 25 or 30-minute game is not going to be against Illinois. So this Northwestern game is right. I think the schedule, maybe I'm just trying to look at the glass half full, but I think the schedule has kind of worked out well for Indiana. I think this Butler game today, I would have much rather played Butler than Notre Dame today from Indiana's perspective, to prepare for the Big Ten, get guys an opportunity to get out on the floor and do some different things, build their confidence. I think Armand is a definite beneficiary of today's game. But I think the schedule is kind of set up perfectly. I'd much rather be playing Northwestern first than Illinois first, because that might smack you in the mouth and you realize how difficult it's really going to be from then on.
I've watched them a few times. They got a big team, athletic team, a defensive team. They're going to get tested.
Experienced, and they can all score the basketball, and just huge. Like that thing that plays on the inside in Illinois. I mean, I don't even know how to describe that human. He's a monster.
It reminds me of Shrek.
Speaking of football, Northwestern.
He is.
Hey, it's halftime in the Big Ten championship game, and Northwestern is beating Ohio State 10-6.
Yeah, it is. It could have been worse too. I watched. I had one TV and Yogi's on here on the Ohio State game, and I'll tell you what. The Big Ten, I'm not saying anything everybody doesn't know. The Big Ten does not want Ohio State to get upset today. Because monetarily, financially would be detrimental to the Big Ten.
But they would almost deserve it for what they've done. Ryan, have you been able to follow the football team much? I mean, having success in football is something that never happened, much less when you were in school. But it was somewhat successful with Mallory then, but never to this level. It's pretty cool to see.
I have not missed a game. They've been a ton of fun to watch. I got to be honest, the first few seasons with Tom Allen, I thought it was maybe a little rah-rah-ish for me, and
gimmicky.
I'm 100% convinced it's authentic now. I mean, I'm a huge believer. After that last game, when the players came up during that post-game interview, that was one of the coolest things I think I've ever seen in sports. It was so real, and the guys that play for him just love him. You can tell. They're a family, and I don't think that's easy to establish, especially a program that's never had.
We've got no point of reference with that one.
No point of reference.
With 125 guys. Not a 13, 16-man basketball team. 125 guys on that roster.
Total buy-in. You could feel it. They play for each other. That's the key, right? I mean, I don't know how you get a roster that many guys to play for one another, but they're a ton of fun to watch. And I think they could have been in this game today and hanging in there for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It would have been fun to watch, but hopefully, I guess maybe we'll see them in the Fiesta Bowl against Oregon, as they upset USC last night. I don't know how it's going to turn out. They're going to end up somewhere great.
Fiesta Bowl, that's Arizona. Is that Arizona?
Unfortunately, I won't go with that one today.
That's warm. Hey, that's a warm weather climate.
Yeah, it's a little far. Florida would have been a little nicer, but it's a better payday for them. Yeah, for us.
Hey,
yeah,
I just hope they have any bowls. I hope that there's the New Year's Day bowls and the college football playoff. I hope at least they get those bowls in.
Looking forward to it, and we'll be back on next Wednesday.
Yep.
As India takes on Northwestern. I can't thank you enough, man. You could have just turned the camera on and walked away, and it would have been awesome. You would have improved the show, but being with us is even better yet. The background, this man, live from the North Pole today, it's a special effort. You got to appreciate that, the effort. It's unbelievable.
You guys, I mean, you can have me on whatever you want. I realize this adds something to the show. There's no question. I got the right thing.
I would love to do this every time. This would be incredible. And Todd, I wish I was there, but unfortunately I'm here at the tap. Man, enjoy some mini corn dogs there at Yogi's today. For missing out on those.
Past tense. Those mini corn dogs are here and gone already.
I'm quite certain of that. Hey, we'll be back there on Wednesday, and hopefully Brian will be back here in the city. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Get your Christmas shopping done, hopefully. But again, Chris Martin, thank you so much. Nathan Finney and the Finney Hospitality Group, thank you. Make sure if you're in Indianapolis, get out to the tap on Mass Ave. If you're in Bloomington, go to Yogi's. Check it out. We'll be out there and be there every game as well. But Brian, Merry Christmas to you and your family, sir. Appreciate you, man.
Merry Christmas to you guys. That was fun. Thanks for having me join you.
You made it a great show. Thanks, Brian.
I'll see you soon. So I'll see you before Christmas.
Yep.
You guys have a great day. Appreciate you all, and do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask. And until Monday, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.